12 Most Bizarre and Mysterious Recent Archaeological Discoveries That Terrified Millions. Hello, welcome to the Ancient History Channel. My dear friends, you know, sometimes what lies buried beneath seemingly quiet layers of earth can hide secrets powerful enough to send shivers down the spines of people around the world. And the deeper archaeologists dig, the more they uncover things far beyond our imagination. Some objects have remained still for thousands of years, yet once revealed, they spark both curiosity and an eerie chill. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey through 12 of the strangest and most mysterious archaeological discoveries in recent times. Findings that have left millions of people stunned by just how bizarre they are. If you're someone who loves exploration and is always curious about what the past has left behind for the present, then sit down, brace yourself, and join me on this adventure. Because I truly believe that the more you watch, the more you'll realize how vast and mysterious our world is compared to what we think we know. Are you ready? If you are, then what are we waiting for? Let's dive right in. A 2,300-year-old mummy found in agony beneath a northern European bog. If there is one place where time seems to freeze, where a person can lie for millennia yet still retain every strand of hair and even their fingerprints, the northern European bogs are exactly that strange time machine. And the story of the Graubaal Man, a 2,300-year-old mummy discovered in one of these bogs, will send chills down your spine from beginning to end. It all began in 1952. While a group of workers was digging for peat near the village of Graubaal, one of them suddenly felt his shovel hit something unusually firm. Thinking it was just a rotten log, he dug harder. But as the layer of peat was pushed aside, the entire group froze. Lying right before their eyes was a perfectly preserved body, its skin still elastic, its face appearing as if he had only fallen asleep rather than having lain beneath the bog for thousands of years. At first, locals speculated that it might be the body of Red Christia, a man who had gone missing in 1887. But when archaeologist Ulrich Balsev arrived to investigate, he immediately realized they were facing something far beyond a modern missing person case. The mummy was quickly transported to the museum, where Professor Glob's team conducted a full analysis. The results shocked all of Denmark. This man had lived in the 3rd century BC, more than 2,300 years ago. When researchers examined the mummy more closely, they discovered a sharp, clean cut stretching from his throat to his ear, right across the main artery, clearly evidence of a painful death. On top of that, 4 of his vertebrae showed signs of burning. All of this led experts to believe he was the victim of a brutal ancient killing. However, another theory emerged. He may have been a prisoner captured in conflicts between ancient northern European tribes. But the question that baffled historians was this: why was he not treated like other prisoners? Why was his body placed into a bog as if part of a special ritual? Even the fractured skull led many to think he had been beaten to death. But upon closer inspection, experts determined that these injuries occurred after death, likely caused by bog pressure or the excavation process. With every theory leading to a dead end, archaeologists decided to examine his stomach. This is where a completely new clue emerged. The Graubaal man's last meal consisted only of corn porridge, several types of seeds, and traces of poisonous mushrooms, the same kind ancient Greeks used in mystical rituals. These mushrooms can induce intense hallucinations, even sensations of burning from within. This opened up a chilling possibility. He may have been part of a sacrificial ritual, or was given poisonous mushrooms before his throat was slit. Another astonishing detail was the unusual smoothness of his hands, showing no signs of hard labor or combat. These were not the hands of a prisoner or a warrior. So who was he? Someone chosen for sacrifice? Or a special figure within his ancient community? These questions remain unanswered. But what cannot be denied is the astonishing state of preservation. His hair still intact, nails clearly visible, and even fingerprints recoverable. His skin had turned a deep oak brown color, because in bog environments, tannins from oak seep into the body and naturally mummify it almost perfectly. In 1955, his remains were placed on display at the Mosgaard Museum. But even with all the scientific advances since then, the greatest question remains unsolved. Was the Graubaal man a victim of ritual, a victim of violence, or a victim of the very beliefs of his time? A mummy, 2,300 years beneath the mud, and a mystery that has never been answered. Do you find it haunting? 2 mysterious mummies, hidden beneath the Arctic ice. If you think the Arctic is nothing but endless snow, ice, and bone-chilling winds, then you probably haven't heard about the strange discovery that has archaeologists on edge beneath the Siberian permafrost. Because right in Salikard, the capital of Russia's Arctic region, where the average temperature is about 21 degrees Fahrenheit, experts uncovered a secret buried for centuries. Two astonishingly well-preserved mummies, one adult and one child. The adult mummy measures about 5 feet 7 inches long, and the body was tightly wrapped in thick fabric, animal fur, and even layers of sturdy tree bark. But the most shocking detail was the outermost layer, a full copper covering. Yes, you heard that correctly. Copper from ancient times and found in the middle of the Arctic. Specialists believe this is solid evidence that the ancient people of this region had metalworking skills far earlier than once assumed. They wrapped the bodies in copper, not only to preserve their form, but also to prevent bacteria from breaking down the remains. Combined with the year-round freezing temperatures, these two factors created nearly perfect preservation conditions found in very few places on Earth. The smaller mummy is believed to be that of an infant only about 6 months old. Both were discovered at the archaeological site of Zeleny Yar, one of the most famous Arctic excavation zones. You might wonder, were these the first mummies ever found here? The answer is no. In fact, these two are only a small part of nearly 100 mummies uncovered at this site over the past 20 years, making Zeleny Yar one of the rare living archives of medieval Siberian life. And as you may know, Zeleny Yar is a complex archaeological zone containing 3 major structures: a copper casting workshop dating from the 16th to 17th centuries, a burial area formed during the 18th to 19th centuries, and an ancient cemetery from as far back as the 13th century, believed to be the origin of the 2 newly found mummies. However, the true ages of these 2 mummies are still a major mystery. To solve it, experts must bring them into laboratories for genetic tests, forensic analysis, and historical research to determine precisely which era they belong to, which civilization they came from, and what kind of lives they lived. Hopefully, in the near future, researchers will uncover the most accurate answers and share them with us. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Among the many artifacts at Zeleny Yar, archaeologists also discovered a 10th century Persian copper bowl, originating directly from Persia, present-day Iran, located nearly 3,700 miles from Siberia. This raises a stunning question. How did an ancient Persian artifact end up in this remote frozen land, almost completely cut off from the rest of the world? To this day, the connection between ancient Persian civilization and the people of Siberia remains unexplained. But it is exactly these unanswered mysteries that make Zeleny Yar a place every explorer dreams of visiting. A land where every block of ice and every layer of soil might hold a story capable of reshaping our understanding of human history. The frescoes and human remains of Pompeii. When we think of ancient cities, images of ruins and collapsed stone walls often come to mind. But few people realize that beneath the layers of ash left by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD lies a historical treasure being uncovered day by day. Pompeii, with its traces of daily life, continues to astonish the modern world with new discoveries. In 2024, archaeologists truly brought us back into the mysteries of the past through a series of remarkable findings, especially the stunning frescoes and the remarkably preserved human remains. Let's start in March, when archaeologists discovered a fresco depicting a tragic tale from Greek mythology. The painting shows Phrixus and Helle, the twin siblings tormented by their stepmother, forced to flee for their lives. In the final moment of her life, Helle is swept away by the waves as she reaches toward her brother, who is riding the legendary ram with the golden fleece. Found in a house first excavated in 2018, this fresco is not only a beautiful work of art, but also a window into the mythical stories of the ancient world. Notably, in the same area, archaeologists uncovered 2 additional ancient houses, bringing us closer to the daily lives of Pompeii's residents. Then in April came another extraordinary discovery. A large banquet hall was unearthed, its walls painted black and adorned with frescoes. These paintings were not merely decorative, they illustrated dramatic scenes from the Trojan War. In the dim glow of oil lamps, the images would have appeared almost alive, portraying legendary battles and heroic moments. The room's white mosaic floor, preserved almost perfectly, left viewers in awe of the craftsmanship and creativity of the ancient Romans. This banquet hall belonged to a large house, while the laundries and bakeries discovered the previous year were only small pieces of a much larger picture of commercial and social life in Pompeii. As summer arrived, the discoveries grew even more impressive. A shrine room with green walls was found, featuring images of women symbolizing the four seasons. These paintings not only captured the beauty of nature, but also reflected a deep belief in agriculture and livestock. The presence of items such as wine vessels and oil lamps suggests that this room was used for religious rituals. Every detail, its colors, its artifacts, indicates a sacred space where the people of Pompeii sought protection from the gods. In August, archaeologists revealed yet another stunning find. Inside a small bedroom, the remains of a married couple were discovered along with a small treasure of valuable items. Remarkably, the imprints of objects in the room allowed researchers to reconstruct the exact layout of the space at the moment disaster struck. A wooden bed, a marble table, and items made of bronze, ceramic, and glass appeared almost untouched, forming a vivid picture of the lives of those who perished under Vesuvius's fury. October brought yet another unforgettable discovery: a small house decorated with erotic frescoes. These works were shocking not only for their boldness, but also for the insight they offer into Roman culture and art. One painting portrays Princess Phaedra and her tragic affair with her stepson, Hippolytus. Another depicts the sorrowful love story of Venus and Adonis. Though controversial, these artworks form an essential part of the larger cultural tapestry of ancient Roman society. Complex, diverse, and deeply human. You see, every discovery, whether a small painting or a newly uncovered skeleton, brings us untold stories and unresolved mysteries from the past. What Pompeii has left us is not merely lifeless ruins, but vibrant pieces of a magnificent civilization buried in ash for millennia. And perhaps, hidden beneath the ground, there are still many more secrets waiting to be uncovered. The alien screw fossil. In 1990, in the Kaluga region of Russia, scientists discovered a strange fossil that looked exactly like a modern-day screw, enough to make anyone wonder, could this be an object dropped by extraterrestrial beings? Even more intriguing, Kaluga is believed to be the site where a large meteorite fell over 300 million years ago. This coincidence immediately fueled bold theories. Perhaps an extraterrestrial civilization had once set foot in this area, leaving behind traces that survive to the present day. Countless articles and debates emerged, and some people even believe this was an ancient piece of timeless technology. But science does not rely on coincidence or intuition. When archaeologists and paleontologists stepped in, they reached a conclusion that disappointed many. This screw was not manufactured by aliens, but was actually the fossilized remnant of an ancient marine organism known as a crinoid. Hard to believe, right? A sea creature leaving behind something that looks exactly like a metal screw? But that is the truth. Crinoids, also called sea lilies, first appeared during the Ordovician period, about 488 million years ago. They are distant relatives of starfish and sea urchins and once populated ancient oceans in great abundance. Their bodies are structured with long stalks made up of small disc-like segments arranged in a spiral pattern. When fossilized, these spiral segments often separate, creating shapes that look almost identical to the screw-like structure we see today. Crinoids reached their peak during the Paleozoic era, but most were wiped out at the end of the Permian period, the largest mass extinction event in Earth's history. Only a few families survived into the Triassic period, continuing to evolve and exist to this day. Currently, there are about 600 species of crinoids on Earth, though most have changed significantly compared to their tall and slender ancestors. In the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam, their descendants can still be found, though modern forms typically no longer have the long spiraled stalks of their ancient relatives. Because of this, zoologists call them stalkless crinoids. So that so-called 300 million-year-old screw is nothing more than the fossil remains of an ancient deep-sea organism that lived long before humans ever existed, not an artifact from extraterrestrials. But you see, even a tiny fossil can spark decades of global debate, and maybe that's what makes it fascinating. Nature sometimes creates things that feel like they came from another civilization entirely. Looking at that screw, we're reminded that Earth still holds countless secrets waiting to be uncovered. Not everything that resembles modern technology is made by aliens, but that sense of mystery is exactly what makes the journey of discovery so exciting, isn't it? Human sacrifice remains found beneath a 5,000-year-old bog. Did you know that on the island of Zealand, a peaceful region not far from Copenhagen, Denmark, archaeologists accidentally stumbled upon a secret that had been asleep for 5,000 years beneath the cold mud of a long-forgotten bog? And the story behind it is so captivating that the entire archaeological team reportedly felt chills from the very first moment. It all began quite simply, with a single femur bone sticking out of the ground. But as they followed the trail, more strange pieces started appearing. A lower jaw still holding several teeth, parts of legs, a pelvis, all scattered as if time itself had tried to hide the fate of this ancient individual. But the biggest surprise came when the team found part of a flint axe and animal bones lying beside the human remains. And if you've ever heard of ritual sacrifices from the Neolithic era, you'll know immediately. This combination is no coincidence. According to experts from the Roskilde Museum, this is almost certainly a case of human sacrifice, not an accidental fall into the bog. Such rituals were common in ancient times when people believed bogs were sacred places that connected humans to the divine. In other words, the victim was brought here deliberately. Archaeologist Emil Winther Struve shared that the very first bone fragments made the team realize they were facing an exceptionally rare discovery. Bog skeletons are not something you find every day. These remains typically date back thousands of years and contain invaluable clues about a prehistoric world humanity can barely touch. Struve also mentioned previous legendary discoveries. Koilbjerg Mon, the oldest bog remains in the world, about 10,000 years old. Tolland Man, famously preserved almost perfectly since 400 BC. Both were found in Denmark, suggesting the region was once a major center for ritual sacrifices. So what allowed this new discovery to resurface after thousands of years? It all began with a Danish requirement. Before constructing any new building, archaeological surveys must be conducted. Thanks to this rule, the bog near the town of Stenløse was drained, and a secret buried for millennia suddenly revealed itself before the researchers' eyes. However, excavation wasn't easy. Harsh winter weather froze the ground, forcing the team to pause and wait for warmer conditions. Some parts of the body, being outside the protective peat layer, had completely decomposed over time. Fortunately, the teeth remained intact, and those teeth are the golden key. With the teeth, specialists can determine the victim's age, and once the pelvis is fully excavated, they will be able to confirm whether the individual was male or female. Detailed enamel analysis may even reveal ancestry, diet, and geographic origin, potentially unlocking the biggest question of all. Why was this person chosen as a sacrifice during the Neolithic era? The story is still unfolding, and each bone fragment serves as a reminder that human history still holds countless unanswered mysteries. And who knows, beneath some quiet patch of earth, even more stories may be waiting to be uncovered and retold. What do you think drove ancient people to choose human sacrifice? Take a guess. Sometimes our questions and theories open new paths for researchers to explore. The 3,500-year-old inscribed tablet. Imagine a land once shaken by the footsteps of ancient empires, where every brick and every layer of soil hides stories untold for thousands of years. And then, not long ago, in the ruins of a city that was once a center of power, archaeologists in Turkey uncovered a small, humble-looking clay tablet that carries with it 3,500 years of history. The tablet, only about 1.57 inches long, 0.63 inches wide, and weighing roughly 1 ounce, immediately captured global attention. Not because of its size, but because of its astonishing content, a furniture shopping list dating back to the 15th century BC. Sounds strangely modern, doesn't it? A shopping list for tables and chairs, written thousands of years ago, almost as if the Bronze Age had its own version of a receipt. But in truth, this tablet is one of the rare pieces of evidence showing how the economy of that era operated. From private transactions to the management of public assets, from handcrafted production to detailed administrative record-keeping. Turkey's Minister of Culture and Tourism, Mehmet Ersoy, emphasized that this tablet is a key piece in understanding the economic structure and state organization during the late Bronze Age. What makes this tablet even more remarkable is the language inscribed on it. Akkadian, a logographic syllabic script once widely used across the ancient Middle East. Akkadian is one of the oldest recorded Semitic languages, related to Arabic and Hebrew. Although extinct today, during the 3rd millennium BC, It served as the primary language of major empires, spoken and written from Iran to Egypt and across what is now Turkey. Thanks to the exceptional durability of baked clay, these Akkadian inscriptions have survived, bringing us back to a time when even the purchase of a wooden chair was deemed worthy of official record. The tablet was discovered during restoration work at the ancient city of Alalakh, known today as Tel Achana, near Antakya in southern Turkey. It was found in a soil layer disrupted by a massive earthquake. Ironically, that natural disaster paved the way for this extraordinary archaeological discovery. Around the 15th century BC, Alalakh served as the capital of the Kingdom of Mukish, a prosperous settlement under the control of the powerful Mitanni Empire in the ancient Near East. The Mitanni were renowned for advanced craftsmanship, especially in pottery, metalwork, and glassmaking. The Amorites, a Semitic people from western Mesopotamia, modern-day Syria, were the inhabitants who built and shaped its civilization. They not only created fortified cities, but also left behind massive earthen mounds, tells, formed through centuries of construction and reconstruction. Within these layers, archaeologists have uncovered numerous palaces and fortresses, many containing inscribed tablets that collectively paint a vivid picture of royal life, politics, and society at the time. Around 1350 BC, according to ancient records, King Shadawaza of the Mitanni ceded Alalakh to King Suppiluliuma of the Hittites, marking a pivotal shift in regional power. Each tablet and artifact unearthed, including this furniture list, is more than evidence of mundane transactions. They are historical fragments helping archaeologists reconstruct social dynamics, political structure, and everyday life in the ancient world. You might wonder, why would a simple shopping list be so important? But remember, during an era when writing itself was a privilege, dedicating an entire tablet to list household furniture reveals how essential these items were, likely for royal or elite households. They weren't just practical objects, they symbolized status, authority, and the organizational capability of the society. This is why archaeologists and linguists are now studying each word and symbol on the tablet with great care. The 3,500-year-old clay tablet is not merely an artifact, it is a mirror reflecting the past. It helps us understand that no matter the era, humans have always needed to organize, document, preserve, and seek stability in their daily lives. And sometimes, things as simple as a list of tables and chairs can open a window into an entire civilization. The medieval vampire skull. If you think vampires exist only in Hollywood movies, then this next story will definitely make you think again. Because right in the heart of romantic Venice, Italy, archaeologists uncovered the remains of what people in the 16th century genuinely believed to be a real medieval vampire. The discovery was made inside a mass grave on Lazaretto Nuovo Island, a former quarantine site during Venice's plague outbreaks. There, archaeologists found the skeleton of a woman, with a large brick jammed tightly into her mouth. Creepy enough, right? But to Venetians during the deadly plague of 1576, this was the only protective measure they believed could stop the vampire from rising again and spreading disease. Dr. Matteo Barini, a forensic anthropologist from the University of Florence who led the excavation, explained that before medical science existed, vampires served as the most logical explanation for why plague spread so quickly. Venice was losing hundreds of people every single day, over 50,000 deaths in just 1 year. In the chaos, any corpse showing unusual signs easily became proof of a demonic presence. But what counted as unusual? Barini explained that gravediggers at the time didn't understand the natural stages of human decomposition. When they reopened fresh graves to bury more victims, they often encountered bodies in mid-decay, swollen bellies, soft skin, fingernails and hair that seemed to have grown longer, and dark fluids leaking from the mouth. To us, these are normal biological processes. To them, these were unmistakable signs that the corpse was feeding on its burial shroud, the classic medieval image of a rising vampire. Just imagine this. You're a gravedigger in the 1500s. You open a coffin and see thick black liquid seeping from the mouth of a corpse. Would you stay calm? Probably not. And you can't really blame them, because they had no idea that the dark liquid was simply decomposed digestive fluids. These fluids soaked the burial cloth, causing it to recede into the mouth, making it look like the dead person was chewing it. Because of this misunderstanding, the gravediggers shoved a brick into the woman's mouth as a way to seal the vampire, hoping to stop the curse from spreading further. Interestingly, skeletons with similar conditions have been found in multiple regions across Europe, proving that fear of vampires was widespread throughout the Middle Ages. But this raises a question. Did the brick ritual truly originate from vampire beliefs, or was it just a desperate attempt at disease control? Barini suggests it was likely both. When death surrounds people every day, even the smallest irregularity can trigger panic. Symbolic actions, no matter how bizarre, become a form of psychological protection. Still, this discovery reveals a haunting chapter in European history, a time when fear, ignorance of biology, and overwhelming despair combined to create the very vampire legends we know today. A 3,000-year-old bog body carrying a 3.3 feet monster inside. Imagine standing in the middle of a vast marshland, with cold winds sweeping through and the water lying strangely still. Could you imagine that right beneath your feet once existed a 3,000-year-old ancient village where people lived with monsters nearly 3.3 feet long inside their bodies? It sounds like pure mythology, doesn't it? Yet this story, seemingly pulled straight from a legend, is completely real at Must Farm in eastern England, a site often called the Pompeii of the Fens. During excavations, archaeologists from the University of Cambridge were stunned to discover the remains of a Bronze Age settlement built directly over water. People in that era constructed stilt houses anchored deep into the marsh, connected to one another by narrow, shaky walkways. Wooden boats were essentially the motorbikes of the time, allowing them to navigate through winding, watery channels. That peaceful life ended abruptly when a devastating fire swept through the village 3 millennia ago. The inferno destroyed everything, but it also created something miraculous. The flames caused the houses, objects, and even human remains to collapse straight into the thick mud below. And because marsh mud is an incredibly effective natural preservative, everything that fell, including traces of human life, remained astonishingly intact, as if frozen in time for 3,000 years, waiting to be rediscovered. But the most shocking discovery lay inside the bodies of these ancient villagers. When researchers analyzed the remains, they found that many Must Farm inhabitants carried a gigantic parasitic worm inside their kidneys, nearly 3.3 feet long. Just hearing that is enough to make anyone shiver. These monsters were the result of extremely risky eating habits: raw fish, raw frogs, and shellfish harvested directly from the swamp. Foods that seemed normal at the time turned out to be the perfect route for parasites to enter and grow inside the human body. Professor Piers Mitchell, leader of the research team, revealed that they found multiple deadly parasites preserved in astonishing condition. Among them were fish tapeworms, echinostoma worms that caused severe anemia, and most notably the giant kidney worm, the very creature responsible for the meter-long monsters living inside these ancient people. Even more surprising, the village dogs were infected with the same parasites, proving that humans and animals were sharing the same dangerous food sources. But Must Farm isn't just frightening, it's also incredibly impressive. The artifacts left behind show a community far more advanced than previously believed. Archaeologists uncovered elaborate jewelry, finely crafted tools, and expertly made household items, objects so well made they astonished modern craftsmen. This level of sophistication, combined with the unique stilt house architecture built over water, is why Must Farm has been dubbed Britain's Pompeii, a place destroyed by fire but preserved almost perfectly because of it. From everyday domestic traces, to engineering techniques, to the horrifying evidence of parasites living inside its people, everything comes together to paint a vivid portrait of a culture that once thrived, only to vanish under the brutal force of flames. After hearing this, can you imagine what it would feel like to stand at Must Farm today? Almost like stepping into a time machine, touching memories that still hold the breath of 3,000 years ago? As for me, I believe it's entirely possible. A 1,700-year-old luxurious Roman bath perfectly preserved. Imagine planting trees in your garden and suddenly stumbling upon an ancient Roman relic. That's exactly what happened to a landowner in Turkey in 2023. While digging in his yard, he accidentally uncovered a Roman mosaic buried just beneath the cherry tree soil. From that chance discovery, archaeologists traced something that left everyone amazed: a lavishly decorated Roman bath, astonishingly well preserved, located only about 230 feet from the mosaic. Using underground radar scans, experts determined that the structure spans roughly 807 square feet and dates back 1,700 years. What makes it truly remarkable is that the bath's design and function resemble a full-fledged ancient spa. It might sound surprising, but it's remarkably accurate. The site includes a hypocaust floor heating system, a technology so advanced that even many modern buildings would admire it. In addition, the bath features distinct cold, warm, and hot rooms, a steam chamber, a swimming pool, and a separate clean water and wastewater system. Just imagining this gives a sense of how refined and sophisticated Roman life was at the time. Turkish cultural officials have announced that the site will soon be preserved and open to visitors. And this is just the beginning. The bath and the mosaic are only two of countless historical remnants still hidden beneath this historically rich land. According to Ahmet Demirdağ, the local director of culture and tourism, the area may have once been a Roman city, bustling with daily life, commerce, and architectural development. Excavations in the coming years are expected to reveal even more surprises. Archaeologist Emre Çayır, who oversees the excavation site, noted that this bath might be the first Roman bath ever found in the region. The most impressive aspect is that the cold, warm, and hot room layout remains completely intact, showing no signs of destruction over time. Every detail, from structure and materials to the overall layout, demonstrates the skill and sophistication of the community that once lived here. Çayır described the bath as an extraordinary and highly significant discovery, offering invaluable insight into daily life in ancient Rome. Turkey is well known for its layered history, so uncovering new relics isn't uncommon. But these recent finds have truly excited researchers. Last summer, archaeologists unearthed a 5th-century Christian church with much of its original structure still preserved. Early in 2025, they discovered a Bronze Age loaf of bread, so well preserved it looked like it had been baked yesterday. Looking at these continuous discoveries, it's easy to see Turkey as a vast treasure trove slowly revealing its secrets. Each layer of earth peeled back exposes a fragment of the past, from intricate mosaics and ancient churches to a luxurious 1,700-year-old Roman bath. And who knows, somewhere beneath an ordinary garden corner, there might still be another lavish structure waiting to be uncovered. 2,000-year-old mummified man reveals a gruesome ancient sacrifice. It all started back in 1984. Locals were doing what they'd done for generations, cutting peat for fuel, just another ordinary day. But on this day, something strange emerged from the thick black earth, a human body part. When workers and archaeologists carefully pulled the rest of the body out, everyone was stunned. What they'd found was the nearly perfectly preserved mummy of a young man, around 20 to 25 years old, who had lived in the 1st century AD, right when the Roman Empire was spreading its influence across the lands of the Celtic people. Archaeologists later named him Lindo Man, but what truly shocked everyone wasn't just how incredibly well preserved he was, it was the violent story his body told about how he died. As researchers gently removed the peat covering him, the evidence of brutality slowly came into view. Clear strangulation marks around his neck. He'd been garroted until he suffocated. A massive blow to the back of his head so powerful that fragments of his skull were driven into his brain. And finally, his throat had been slit deep, a fatal finishing cut. One man, killed in 3 different ways. Just thinking about it is enough to make your skin crawl. Experts quickly ruled out accident or a random fight. This was deliberate, ritualistic, planned. That's when the leading theory emerged. Lindo Man was most likely the victim of an ancient Celtic human sacrifice. In Celtic culture, offering a strong, healthy young person to the gods wasn't uncommon. They believed such extreme rituals could ensure good harvests, prosperity, or calm angry gods during hard times. The fact that he was killed in 3 distinct ways perfectly matches descriptions in ancient legends of a symbolic triple death, an extraordinarily powerful form of ritual sacrifice. The mystery deepens even further. Using carbon-14 dating on the contents of his stomach, scientists discovered the remains of his very last meal, grains and a type of flatbread. This not only paints a picture of what people ate 2,000 years ago, but also helped pinpoint his death to late spring or early summer, sometime between roughly 100 and 200 AD. Many believe that meal wasn't random. It may have been a required ritual food, part of the sacred preparation before being offered to the gods. What makes Lindoman such an archaeological treasure is the rare combination of near-perfect preservation and the sheer amount of information his body provides. Every strand of hair, every piece of skin, every wound is a puzzle piece that helps us reconstruct the lives of ancient Celtic people, how they worshipped, how they fought, and how they viewed life and death. Calling him a priceless treasure isn't an exaggeration. When you stop and think about it, Lindoman opens a window straight into the past, a world driven by deep faith, fear, and intensely sacred rituals. So tell me, after hearing this haunting story, which theory do you lean toward? Was he a criminal being punished, or a chosen one, willingly or not, offered up to the gods? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to know what you think. The USS Edzell wreck beneath the Indian Ocean. In the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean, where countless untold stories have been swallowed by the waves, there is a name that has commanded respect in the history of World War II for over 80 years: the destroyer USS Edzell. Recently, the Royal Australian Navy finally located the resting place of this ship, ending more than 8 decades of silence beneath the sea. As you may know, the USS Edzell was no ordinary vessel. Built in 1919, measuring 316 feet long, it joined the U.S. Navy just a year later. From the moment it became operational, the ship served as a steel shield for U.S.-Australian convoys, protecting them from fierce attacks by the Japanese Navy during World War II. Then came March 1, 1942, when an uneven battle etched Edzell into history. During the fight, the small ship astonished the enemy. Amid a storm of bombs and shells, Edzell weaved in and out, dodging attacks with seemingly impossible agility. The Japanese even gave it a nickname, the Dancing Mouse, a begrudging acknowledgement of its evasive skills. But soon the Japanese Air Force joined the fray, turning the encounter into a multi-hour pursuit. The chilling truth, however, is that after thousands of shells rained down, the USS Edzell was struck by a single fatal shot, one hit that sank the ship along with over 200 sailors. From that moment, these waters became a sacred site for the U.S. Navy, believed to be the final resting place for nearly the entire crew. The tragedy didn't end there. During post-war trials, declassified documents revealed that a few survivors were actually rescued by the Japanese, but instead of receiving humane treatment, they were executed. This only solidified the USS Edzell's status as a symbol of ultimate wartime sacrifice. It was not until the advent of modern robotic technology that the ship was finally located deep on the ocean floor. While detailed information about the vessel's condition has not yet been released, the discovery carries immense significance. It allows researchers to preserve an important piece of history and offers closure to the families of the lost sailors, letting them know their loved one's resting place has finally been found. U.S. Ambassador to Australia Caroline Kennedy poignantly remarked, "Now we can preserve this important site and hope that the families of these fallen heroes know that their loved ones have found peace." Think about it. A ship lying silent beneath the waves for 80 years, a battle remembered only through historical records, yet the courage of the USS Edzell sailors remains alive. A reminder that in the midst of brutal warfare, people fought to the very last moment for the cause of freedom. The story of Edzell, though sunken in the depths of the ocean, will continue to live in the world's memory. 500-million-year-old fossil discovered on a mountain in China. When we go hiking, we usually hope to find beautiful scenery, some fresh air, or a few good photos for social media. But for Mr. Yang from Linyi City, Shandong Province, China, a recent trip with his 5-year-old son turned into a real-life treasure hunt, and the treasure they found was so valuable that scientists immediately got involved. The story began when the father and son were climbing near the peak of a mountain close to Langgong Temple. There, Mr. Yang's eyes stopped on a large, unusual rock. Its shape was completely different from the surrounding stones, and he immediately sensed that something was not quite right. Drawing on years of hiking experience and some basic geological knowledge, he began to suspect that this might be an ancient fossil exposed on the surface. So, the two of them decided to play a little treasure hunt for fun. Mr. Yang didn't have high expectations, thinking that finding a fossil was extremely rare. But just 7 to 8 minutes later, his son's excited shout startled him. "Dad, I found it!" When he ran over and looked at the spot his son was pointing to, he saw what appeared to be rocks with extremely intricate patterns embedded in the soil. They were unlike any ordinary stones he had ever seen. Realizing the potential significance of the discovery, Mr. Yang immediately took photos and posted them online, hoping an expert would verify them. Soon after, Professor Guo Ying from the Institute of Geology and Paleontology at Linyai University examined the find and confirmed that it was indeed a fossil of a trilobite, an arthropod that lived more than 500 million years ago, dating back to the Cambrian or Ordovician periods. This species is one of the earliest known forms of life on Earth and plays an important role in studying the evolution of early ecosystems. What makes this even more interesting is that the Linyai area has previously yielded numerous trilobite fossils in places like Jinan, Weifang, Rizhao, and Laiwu. Therefore, the discovery of another specimen further strengthens the geological research in the region. When Professor Guo confirmed the find, Mr. Yang was overjoyed. A trip that had seemed like just a casual outing and exercise with his son suddenly became a historic moment. On social media, people congratulated them and laughed with delight at the idea that this 5-year-old junior archaeologist might have discovered a lifelong passion for paleontology. The story of Mr. Yang and his son reminds us that nature quietly preserves wonders, and all it takes is careful observation and curiosity to uncover them. Who knows? Maybe one day you could be the one to find a trace of a world that existed 500 million years ago. Exciting, isn't it? Dear friends, the world is full of endless mysteries, and many questions remain unsolved, leaving scientists scratching their heads in wonder. The discoveries we've shared today are just a tiny fraction of the countless findings out there waiting to be explored. However, we hope that today's discoveries give you a fresh perspective on humanity's understanding of the world. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it interesting, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our future exciting discoveries. For now, goodbye and see you next time.